Yo, what's going on, guys? It's your boy. Welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be doing a movie review for the new Speak No Evil movie, which is officially out in theaters right now, starring James McAvoy. This is a remake of a movie that literally came out like 2 years ago, but I haven't seen the original. I watched this one. Let's talk about it.
Modern movie review.
Okay, so right off the bat, I am going to, as per usual, issue a spoiler warning. I'm not going to get too far into spoilers in the first couple of minutes, so if you do want to stick around to get my kind of initial reaction or review, I definitely would recommend that. But this movie, it is pretty solid. I think that as far as horror movies go, it has the same issues that I feel like most horror movies nowadays has. It is a relatively long, drawn-out story. They spend the first, 45 minutes of the movie really trying to get you connected to these characters, and for the most part, you don't really need that much time. I genuinely think that, if you give a set of characters 15 minutes to develop them or whatever, versus you give them literally just one scene where they're having good dialogue and they're actually interacting with each other in a way that's fluent and feels natural, it does not matter how much time you spent building up the characters. This movie spent a really, really long time trying to get us connected to the main couple and having us connected to their kid and having them kind of feel like, okay, this is actually a really good thing. I'm glad we're going on this trip. It's going to be really exciting. Trying to spice up life a little bit. And at no point in the movie does it really make us feel like, oh my God, yeah, I love this couple. And obviously that's a subjective thing, right? Some people are going to watch this and they might really connect with the, female lead. They might really connect with the male lead. But personally, I watched this movie and I'm not really connecting really well with either of these main characters that well. And then overall, the relationship is kind of on the rocks the majority of the movie. And it's just really hard to connect with these characters. And when they spend the first 45 minutes really just trying to build them up and build them up and build them up so that later they can tear them down, it really just feels like it's dragging so much throughout the length of this movie. Like I said, I had a relatively good time with it. I think as far as the acting and everything goes, the young actor and actresses who plays the two kids in this movie are absolutely incredible. The little boy, especially, he has no lines of dialogue the entire movie. There's a couple of sequences where he'll make little random sound effects and noises and stuff like that. But without any lines of dialogue, that little boy conveys so much emotion, so much terror, so much he has definitely been traumatized and he's seen a whole world of different terrible things happening in front of his eyes. And you can literally see that pain and that fear in his eyes the entire movie. It's actually really captivating to me how well that young actor was able to perform. And then the young actress in this as well was also really able to go from being happy and whimsical and oh my God, this is so exciting, I'm glad we're doing this little vacation adventure, to her realizing something is not right here and it being a really rough situation. So overall, I think that the acting in this is pretty well done. I think that they do a really good job with the direction here. I think that there's a lot of really good wide shots, and for the majority of the movie there will be intimate moments between the main female lead and the main male lead where they're having a really intimate conversation, and it'll be a wide shot. And for a lot of the movie it's this is really weird, why are they filming it like this? They're having an intimate moment, you feel it should be closer, but there's a couple of blink and you'll miss it moments where James McAvoy's in the background of the shot literally watching them, and it's terrifying. They do such a good job of building suspense, building tension. And another thing that I really did enjoy about this movie, the sound effects in here are just absolutely incredible. They do a really good job of showcasing this is in the middle of nowhere, and there's a lot of sequences that are just absolutely dead silent, and it does a really good job of making this room that is so big and so empty feel so empty, and they're so close together, and there's no escaping this area that they're in because it's just deafening silence throughout a lot of the really graphic sequences. And there's a lot of moments where James McAvoy is kind of going a little crazy and he's kind of oh my God, what is this guy doing? And they're trying to figure out if this guy's serious, if he's messing with them, if there's some kind of sick joke that's going on. And it just does such a great job of making us feel just as uneasy as the main characters that we're watching in this movie. And I love that. I think that was absolutely incredible. I think that it was really well done. And like I said, as far as horror movies go, it's pretty solid. A lot of the main beats are kind of predictable. There's definitely a couple of moments where it's if you've seen a horror movie, you're going to know how this specific sequence is going to end. And I think that obviously will have a couple of faults. From everybody I've seen who's compared it to the original and has said that it's worse than the original, pretty much they all seem to be just set on the ending is not as good as the ending to the original. So at some point I'm probably going to watch the original, kind of see what I missed out on. But overall, as far as just just as far as the horror and the acting and everything is concerned, I thought this was a pretty solid movie. But now to kind of get into some of the deeper spoiler alert territory. So to dive a little deeper in what my main gripe with this movie is, and I will say this about pretty much every single horror movie that has been released this year, horror movies low-key could get away with being like 70 minutes long instead of being like an hour and 40 minutes. Like, they do not need to be 100 minutes long. This movie definitely could have scraped off probably about like 20 minutes worth of the runtime, and it could have been a significantly better movie. I feel like a lot of horror movies nowadays are thinking that they need to be longer so that, one, we can get more connected to the characters, and two, it can really like shock us when they make some big reveals. But I think it's actually kind of doing the opposite. There are a couple of moments throughout this movie where a character will say something that's supposed to be like a really shocking and revealing moment, but because we spent so much time with these characters, it doesn't really seem that like out of character, and it doesn't really seem that out of the blue, and it's actually kind of irking me because, like, if you've seen the trailers, you know exactly like, okay, this person's evil, this person's good, this person's not evil, this person's kind of questionable, it's on the fence, we don't really know what's going on, and it really makes it hard to sit through the first like 45 minutes of this movie knowing, okay, well, James McAvoy is kind of going to be a little insane throughout this movie, and the love interest for the most part seems to be on the same side as him, and they don't really do anything to try to like change our mind on that or try to like flip the perspective. They occasionally try to do some like victim blaming situationships and stuff that goes on, but like overall this movie just does a really bad job of building characters, in my opinion. I just think that the main couple is inherently good and they are over the top, and they're trying to kind of pull like the Menu type situation where they're like trying to be like, oh, they're rich and they're not grateful for the things that they have. Like, James McAvoy has a monologue at the end of the movie that's kind of like calling them out and being like, you know, hypocritical and like being terrible people, but aside from that, like, the main couple does not really bring much to the table. And I think that that is one of the main things that sucks about this is if you're going to have a movie and it's only going to have 6 prominent characters, you got to really flesh out those 6 prominent characters. You really got to spend the time to make them good, interesting, worth watching. And a lot of this movie just does not for me. I feel like the main relationship or whatever being on the rocks and them kind of getting ready to divorce makes it less interesting. Like, I think that if they were a loving couple and they've been doing okay, it would be more enjoyable. And every time they have like an argument, it just kind of like just builds more unnecessary, like, oh, okay, so these people are mad at each other. And then whenever like horror sequences start to happen and there's no like twist with that, it's kind of like, okay, what was the point of doing this? But that being said, some twists that I think were kind of interesting and I wish they did more with, the main female love interest for James McAvoy or whatever, the girl that he's with the entire movie, she 100% seems to be on his side with everything. She seems to be just as sick and twisted. It's kind of like a Harley Quinn and Joker type situation where it's like she is just as bad as he is. She's really enjoying doing all these crazy things. She really just wants to have the perfect family, and it doesn't matter how many kids they have to go through to get it. And then at the very end of the movie, they kind of reveal that like she was like the first kid that James McAvoy like kidnapped, and it's kind of implied that he groomed her and like raised her to be, you know, this beautiful woman who's like okay with doing all these random crazy things with him. And he takes her on big vacations where they like steal families and they steal kids and they try to live out this perfect, you know, family life. And it's very disturbing, but they do it so late in the movie that it's like, okay, the character's not redeemable at this point. And then she still continues to be on the side of James McAvoy, so it's like there's no redemption for that character. They don't really do anything interesting with that reveal, and I kind of wish that they had actually like spent the time to flesh out her character more, and then maybe towards the end of the movie have her have a moment where she kind of like flips on James McAvoy, because at the end of the movie they just kill her off, like just straight up. They're like, okay, she's dead now, and I really wish that they potentially like had her die saving them at least, because like she had no development, no arc. They dropped that absolute massive lore bomb and then that's it. And I just kind of wish that they did a little bit more with that. That being said, that's fun. I think that the overall reveal of what's been going on with the kids and the fact that like, okay, they keep kidnapping kids and replacing the kid that they're going to these little vacation places with, that's interesting. I think that the way that they revealed that was awesome. I think the way that they have the little boy trying to tell the other kid throughout the entire movie and not really being able to find a way to do it, I thought that that was fun as well. And I definitely think that there's elements to this that are fantastic. They kind of have like some subtext where they're kind of talking about like the toxicity of being too masculine. Like James McAvoy's character is very much, you need to be a man, you need to be super manly. And then like the main protagonist that we're following, the guy, he's not as manly. He's more shy, he's more timid, he's not necessarily able to stand up for himself as much. And they kind of have like a moment where like they bond over like their manhood, and I really was scared that there was going to be some sick twist with that, with him potentially, you know, not necessarily wanting to protect his family as much or whatever. And it was interesting. They really did not do much to develop the main guy after that. I was really hoping that there was going to be some kind of either big twist or just like him stepping up and really facing what's it called, the James McAvoy, like them having like a little head-to-head moment would have been cool. Instead, the wife is like doing all of the hard work and all the heavy lifting and like literally beating up everybody. And it's interesting. I don't absolutely hate it, but I feel like there's just a lot of work that could have been done with this movie. A lot of really slight tweaks here and there, like a lot of just character things that like they laid the groundwork for this character to get development and then nothing, and then they laid the groundwork for this character to get development and then nothing, and it just felt underdeveloped. But overall, I enjoyed this movie. I think that the horror elements were great. There were definitely a couple of jump scares and stuff that would get most people. And I definitely think that there's like a couple of gory scenes that are interesting. The finale with like the the little boy killing James McAvoy's character, that was pretty satisfying. Him screaming the entire time, that was great. Once again, that young child actor did a really good job with that. And then just like the final scene of them just driving away and everybody feeling really bleak, but they're like, at least we're out of here now. It was interesting. But yeah, that being said, that was it for this video, guys. Thank you guys so much for coming by and checking it out. I love and appreciate you guys so much for watching. And if you liked it, feel free to like and subscribe, and I'll hopefully... I forgot to give a number score. I almost ended this video without giving a number score. That's my bad. If I had to give this movie a score on a scale of 1 to 100, which is what I typically do to give it a grade, I'm going to give it a 72 out of 100. Like, I don't think it's necessarily bad, but I don't think it's necessarily good either. And as far as like the horror movies that have came out this year, it's like very like middle of the road, but like we haven't had a lot of good ones. So it's actually at the top of the middle of the road because God, this year's been really bad for horror movies. But yeah, that was it for this video, guys. Thank you guys so much for coming by checking it out. If you love and appreciate, if you liked and enjoyed this video, feel free to like and subscribe, and I will hopefully see you guys in the next one. Peace out. Bow, bow, bow.